The whole card. Okay, yeah.
All right, party people, what's going on? We popping back in for another segment. It's your man, Professor Nils. I'm signing on with Boston Jared
Peace.
and Coach Dave.
Hurt.
We are Sands, a casual ram, but we make up the pundits of pugilism. Make sure that you do like and subscribe. So, we had to give our pundit picks for this weekend's card, pay-per-view card. It's featuring, so we're gonna kind of go in reverse order, but this card is featuring your boy Gervonta Tank Davis taking on a fellow champion and undefeated fighter and Frank Martin. But
Well, Frank's not a champ though. This Tank defending his WBA belt.
He's been a champ though, right?
Frank Martin?
Frank Martin?
Nah, Frankie never had no belt.
All right, then. Well, I apologize. I was under the
Nah,
impression that
that's
this
cool.
was
All right,
like
good.
a former champion, but he's taking on the undefeated Frank Martin, and I could have sworn he was a champion, but maybe he got a Fugazi belt. But with that said, we're gonna focus on the fight card, and we'll first of all kind of go in reverse order of the kind of significance of the fight. So we're going to talk about the undercard first, and then kind of work our way back up to kind of talk about this to talk about these fights. So we know that we have your boy Gary Antoine Russell, who is fighting this weekend, and then he is pulling it up now. He is taking on
Alberto Puello.
Yes, Alberto Puello. And so this is gonna be
Former champion.
yes, this is contested at 140 pounds or whatnot. I don't know if it's kind of I don't know if I would classify this as a step up for Gary Antoine Russell, but it should be a good fight for as long as it lasts. And so we'll start with you and giving your pundit pick, Boston Jared. So kind of give us your impressions on this fight, and then kind of give your pundit pick and kind of justify your pick for every who you got winning it for this weekend.
Look, I don't know much about Alberto Puello. I was sitting here to try and pull up his box real quick to take a look at the guys who he had fought. It's tough for me to pick against Gary Antoine Russell, man. I think that he is one of those guys who's versatile, and his versatility and his skill set is going to allow him to compete and potentially beat anybody in this division, including a guy like Matthias. He's technical, he's strong, he's got good pop in all his punches. He's quick, he's explosive. So yeah, again, and I don't know much about Puello, but it's tough for me to pick against Gary Russell, man. I'm gonna go Gary Russell by a TKO or a KO in this fight.
All right. So just a little bit of background. So these are two southpaws that are fighting, and Puello is 22-0 with 10 knockouts. He's from the DR, the Dominican Republic. And I was trying to think about what might be his best win. He's got some pretty nondescript opponents.
He sure does, man. Holy shit. Yeah.
So,
This is a big step up
and
for
then
him.
most of his fights have been in Santo Domingo, so you know what that means. Even though his last two fights, last actually three fights have been in the U.S., he's been fighting in Minneapolis and in Hollywood, California. But Coach Dave, what are your thoughts? Gary Antoine Russell, he's taking on Alberto Puello. What is your pundit pick for this fight?
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to go with Russell. And in all fairness, it's not to say that's not a pick because I looked at the opponent, in detail, but know enough to where, Gary just too he's just too sound technically, man. Just too that boxing acumen and just too savvy for this guy.
You have a round, or are you going KO, or what are your thoughts on that?
I, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say it's gonna go the distance, man. But I think it's gonna be a
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
I'll give it by by decision, man. But a dominant decision, bro. I hope he stops this guy. But we'll see.
All
We'll
right,
see. I'm
because I just want to say, so part of the mystique of Gary Antoine Russell is that he's 17-0 with 17 KOs. So that's kind of how he's been able to kind of build a little bit of this kind of legend that he does have. And then so he's got some pretty good, even though they're a little bit long in the tooth, he's got victories over former champions Victor Postol and Barthélemy. So I
He
think that
did beat Barthélemy too in a fight that was going to be a fight of the year type of fight, right over there at the harbor.
I thought that was a bad stoppage.
It was
in
a
that fight.
terrible stoppage.
I thought that was a
Terrible
bad stoppage in that fight.
Right. Yes.
But only not because it was because Gary Antoine Russell was in any kind of trouble, but it just kind of robbed him of that kind of the definitive victory that I think he would have been able to achieve. I thought it was a really bad stoppage in that fight.
Yeah.
In there. So I'm gonna go with Gary Antoine Russell. And I am gonna say that he is going to get the KO. For some reason, so this is a 12-round fight, going 7 or 8 rounds. I want to, if I had to be nailed down to a round, and particularly, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say the 7th round. I think that he's gonna go ahead and get him out there. I think that
but it's not a wow.
yeah, I think so. I don't think that this guy has really faced the type of competition that Gary Antoine Russell has, and I think that once he starts to kind of turn it up, and I think that Gary's looking at this as an opportunity to kind of steal the show and then go out there. So I think that I think he's going to be smart about it. You know what I'm saying? He comes from a boxing family and all that, but I see him going and securing this KO win. So those are our pundit picks. So we got Coach Dave, who is picking Gary Antoine Russell by a unanimous decision, but going all 12 rounds. And Boston Jared, did you have him winning by KO? What was your
I
thought?
had him winning by KO. Yeah, I haven't winning by stoppage. Yeah.
If you had to choose, they nailed you down to give a round, what would you say?
We'll go with a late stoppage. It seems like Gary Russell
Like
seems
10, 11?
seems I would say more like 9. You know, he got that
Okay.
controversial stoppage against Postal. I thought that was a bad stoppage. He's got the controversial stoppage against Barthélemy too. Whatever it is, Gary Russell convinces referees to stop fights. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It might have been a couple of
Fugazi
you know,
stoppages there.
well, yeah, it might have been a couple extra, you know what I'm saying, billfolds in that pocket.
Yeah.
All right, so with that said, another fight on the card. This is so that fight is for an interim title. But we have a fight at middleweight for the WBC World Title, and this is between Carlos Adame against Terrell Gausha, and this is so I believe that this is for a vacant title. So Carlos Adame was the interim WBC champion right now, so they're actually going to fight for the actual belt.
Oh, right. This is a vacant. This is the belt they finally stripped from fucking Jamal Charlo.
Absolutely. Which is, and then so we got Carlos Adame, who's 23-1 with 18 KOs, and then so we had talked about his one loss was to Patrick Teixeira, so who just
Yeah.
lost to the up and coming Xander Zayas or whatnot. But this was something that really stopped his momentum. This was a fighter that a lot of people pegged to kind of go on and do great things. He's rebounded from this, but he has a pretty formidable opponent in Terrell Gausha, who I think that is had a lot of momentum come out because he's a former Olympian, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
He was, man. Gausha was on that team with all them guys. I believe Gausha was on that team with Demetrius and Wilder and Crawford and Gary. I mean, this guy Gausha, man, he's a company man.
Well, it wasn't Crawford.
Continues to get
You
opportunities.
mean Spence, right? Because I don't think Crawford was an Olympian. Was it Crawford?
No, I'm sorry. You're right. Not Crawford. Russell.
Spence.
I meant to say. I meant Russell.
Oh, Russell.
Wilder,
Yeah.
Russell, Wilder, Boo Boo, and him were all on that same Olympic team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So he is he's somebody. So he has 3 losses, but so the losses are to Tim Tszyu. He went 12 rounds. He actually knocked down Tszyu in the first round.
I thought he was going to beat Tim Tszyu, honestly.
And this was a pretty close fight. I mean, if you look at the scorecards, this is a pretty close fight. He lost by 1 point on one scorecard and lost by 3 points on another scorecard. So this was a couple of rounds here or there, and he had the victory over there. He lost to Lubin in there, and then Esrelanda Lara. So I mean, those are not bad losses in there. So I think that we're talking about
pretty good.
You're talking about this is the creme de la creme. You know what I'm saying? Well, you talking except for like Lubin. But
that was Lubin on his ascension back from that loss to Jamel Charlo, if I'm not mistaken. And that was Lubin on his way to going in there and stopping Banana Rosario, right after the Gausha win was when Lubin goes in and he stops Rosario.
He did.
This is Lubin back on the rise. So and look, I know people give Lubin shit. Lubin's a good fighter, man. Gausha, whose best win, if I'm not mistaken, is Jamante Clark. He beat Jamante Clark, didn't he?
Gausha? Yeah. Well,
Gausha beat Jamante Clark.
He did, yeah.
Who I thought beat Fundora. I don't care what nobody said.
He actually stopped Jamante Clark in the second.
Stopped Jamante Clark, and Jamante Clark beat Fundora. I don't care what nobody says. So, look, Gausha, man, Gausha is him, Sergey Derevianchenko, Austin Trout, maybe not so much Trout. Trout has got that win against an old past Miguel Cotto, which is like the saving grace of Austin Trout's career. These all guys kind of cut from the same cloth, man. These guys that keep getting to the precipice of doing something big in the sport, and they always come up a bit short. Not because they aren't good fighters, it's just because they always end up in there against guys who are a little bit better than them. In the case of Erislandy Lara,
he actually had a draw with Trout or whatnot.
He had a draw. I didn't even know that. I think that pretty much sums up both of their careers. I mean, I don't think he's gonna beat Adame, but I'm happy that Gausha continues to get these opportunities, because whenever Al Heyman or whoever it is that's running PBC, Louis DeCubas calls, this guy answers. He takes tough fights. He comes up short, but he keeps showing up, man. So I'm happy for him. I have not seen Gausha fight at 160 yet. I don't think this is his first fight at 160, right?
It is his fight. So his last fight was against Leatherwood, and his last fight was at almost kind of a catchweight. It was at 160. He fought at 161 and a half. So the second fight as a middleweight.
Tough to not go with Adame, the guy who is more established at the weight. I think that Gausha technically might be a little bit better than this guy. I
I
think,
think so too.
but I think the size, the strength, and the weight. Adamas is a good. This fight might surprise people, man. I don't. I'm gonna go with Adamas because I know we're short on time here, but don't be surprised if you see Terrell Gausha pull off an upset in this fight.
All right, Coach Dave, what do you like? Do you like the kind of up and coming DR prospect? 23-1, 18 KOs. Do you like the kind of savvy veteran in Terrell Gausha who has fought? I think I don't know. I was gonna say the better competition, but
He's
Adame.
far better competition.
But he's fought Julian Williams, Sergey Derevyanchenko, Patrick Teixeira. So I think it's a little bit closer, but I will give Terrell Gausha the edge when it comes to competition. So what are your thoughts on this fight?
I'm going with Adame. I got to go with the Dominican Republic on on this one, man. I just think it's going to be a good fight. I mean, he might get trouble or a little flustered, but I just don't know how much I see him being hurt at all, to be honest with you. But flustered a little at the savviness or skill set or whatever experience, Gausha. But I see Adame just pressing and wearing this guy down, man. I don't know if I can really call it a stoppage or anything yet, but I see Adame overwhelming, just youth-like approach to this thing, bro. That's what I say.
Similar to the way Tim Tszyu, I think Tim Tszyu's was able to kind of overwhelm Gausha in the same way that you might see Adames, just with that constant pressure, keeping Terrell Gausha on the back foot, on the perimeter of the ring, on the ropes. I think the Dave might be right on this one.
Yeah, I would. I think it's unanimous. I think that we would look. I think it's going to be a pretty close fight, but I think that Terrell Gausha has become the kind of the master of the close loss, where he shows enough to kind of warrant these opportunities and say that he doesn't get outclassed or whatnot. But I just don't think that he has that kind of extra to kind of get him over some of his top competition. And I think with Adame, just with his youth, size, and strength, I see him being able to pull out this victory.
Gausha a little sharp one too, right? He's got to be the same age as Wilder and Boo Boo and them guys. Was he 36?
Gausha,
yeah,
he is. So Adame is 30 years old. Yeah, exactly. Hit it right on the head. So yeah, Gausha is 36. So
Gausha is 36. Yep.
Yeah.
And Adames is how old?
30.
Yeah. A lot of fights, man. A lot of wars in different people's gyms. Gausha, another Ohio fighter. You know he done walked out of them gyms in Ohio a few times with his bell still ringing, man. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
So we're gonna move on to the co-main event. So this is David Benavidez. His this is like what a way to introduce yourself to the light heavyweight division, who is taking on Alexander Gvozdyk, so who is 20-1. Speaking of Gvozdyk, with 16 knockouts and one loss, was a KO to Benavidez, which is like it's no shame in that. This was he lost in the 10th round in a very close fight. Whatnot. I think
Benavidez hurt in that fight.
Yeah. I think a couple of judges even had him up at the time in there. So this is the guy that famously, I think that maybe a little bit more notorious for putting Adonis Stevenson into a coma, which I'm still not even sure about how he recovered from that, which is kind of a one of the
Adonis Stevenson, he's good. He out.
He's good to go.
Stevenson,
yeah.
He's out.
He had a bit of a recovery. Yeah, this was in 2018. But I think that this is shaping up to be a good fight. I think that David Benavidez has some good handlers, so I think they pretty much know what they're getting into on there. The only sad part about me seeing this fight is that I think it's almost kind of a resignation in the fact that they feel that they're not going to be able to get that fight with Saul Alvarez in there, also known as Canelo. But we'll throw it back to you, Coach Dave. What say you on your prediction for this fight between David Benavidez and Alexander Gvozdyk?
Okay, so listen, so this whole prediction that I'm giving on this one, man, is based off a sincere hope of solid unity between the corner and the fighter and this fight and this fight approach. People can call him the weight bully or whatever, Benavidez, but hey man, you at best better be careful. Really try to muscle around. I'm hoping Benavidez and box, use your skills. Do not try to bully this guy. The guy does show any, then absolutely, press forward. And I'm looking for solid, hard shots and combinations from Benavidez. Cautiousness of trying to weight bully this dude. That's what I'm saying. I think Benavidez beat hand speed and very, very limited footwork and not just solid aggressiveness and trying to prove a point. I worry about this cat catching Benavidez. You see what I'm saying? I worry about this guy catching Benavidez and the abilities that we know that he's there, especially if he gets touched and not, I'm gonna get it back. So I say Benavidez, if he has to stop this guy in later rounds and solidly submit his introduction into this division, man. That's what I'm hoping and going for. Late round stoppage based off of a solid boxing performance to seeing what this guy's giving and then taking advantage of this guy getting orders and then having your way with him. So late round stoppage. I don't know. Let me give you 9 or 10.
9 or 10. All right. Boston Jared, what say you?
Look, on paper, this isn't an opponent that should excite people given Gvozdyk's layoff. However, given what I know about Alexander Gvozdyk, look, if there's any of the old Gvozdyk left in there, this fight is going to be very, very interesting. And for anybody who didn't see the weigh-in, Gvozdyk looks like he's several 2 or 3 inches taller than David Benavidez. He looks wider than Benavidez. Gvozdyk is the bigger guy. And I have always wondered what's going to happen when Benavidez gets in there with a guy that's closer to his own size, a guy like David Morrell, or a guy in this case like Gvozdyk. Same question I asked about Devin Haney. And the one concern I had going into that Ryan Garcia fight was like, yeah, he ain't going to be able, he's not going to come in there with an 18-pound weight advantage this time. Garcia's going to weigh the same as he does. He's got the height, the reach, the hand speed. We've seen Benavidez hit guys with everything, including the kitchen sink, and not be able to get him out of there. Now, that changed with the Boo Boo fight. He caught Boo Boo with a really, really good right hand in the 4th or 5th round of that fight. Really hurt Demetrius bad in that fight, and Boo Boo never recovered. Maybe that is indicative of him making strength and conditioning gains in the gym. I don't know, but this guy Gvozdyk, man, has got all the pedigree in the world. Ukrainian with a whole bunch of amateur experience, was on the same team as Usyk. I'm almost certain he's gone rounds with Usyk in training. If I'm not mistaken, this guy, gave Beterbiev his toughest fight still to date. Yeah, I am very, very curious to see how this fight plays out. Benavidez is an unknown commodity at 175 pounds. You know, he might go up, he might find that extra weight really, really helps him. He might have a little more pep in his step, a little more pop in his shots. We'll see. I'm curious. It's tough to go against Benavidez. He's got the momentum. He's fought the better opposition. As of late, Gvozdyk had retired for several years and came back, and he's fought three guys that I've never heard of before.
Nondescript, yeah.
I do think that this fight is a competitive fight up until the last quarter of the fight. I see Benavidez pulling ahead and getting possibly a TKO. Gvozdyk just doesn't have the rounds under his belt, having been retired. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the safe pick on this one, man. I'm gonna go with Benavidez via a TKO. I think Gvozdyk has his moments in this fight, though.
I'm gonna go with David Benavidez. I agree that Gvozdyk, he is so his after his loss to Benavidez in 2019, he took like almost 4 years off, you know, came back and then kind of fought some nondescript guys in there. It was a 6-round fight, a 10-round fight, an 8-round fight. And I'm gonna go with the younger, stronger, fresher fighter. He's David Benavidez has a 10-year age advantage. He's the more active fighter. He's been fighting high level of competition. Andrade, Caleb Prant, David Lemieux, and I see about a 9th-round stoppage. I think it's going to be. I mean, David Benavidez is not hard to fight to find out there, and I think that the not having to drop those extra 7 pounds is going to do his body good. He's already a pretty active fighter. I just think it's going to make him a little bit stronger, and I see a 9th-round stoppage in this fight. All right, so go ahead.
Originally I said 9th and 10th, but since you picked 9, I'm going to pick 10. Solid 10.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You did choose. Yeah, so
I said 9 too, so I got to change mine to 8.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna end up, and then so thank you for that correction. So I with the WBA World Lightweight Championship, which is pitting Gervonta Tank Davis against Frank Martin. So with Tank Davis, who is a perennial pound for pound fighter, is one of the kind of anointed faces of boxing. 29-0 with 27 KOs. He has been kind of described as Mike Tyson-esque when you just think about his problem. So he's like a kind of a mini version. Because when the thing about heavyweights is it's a little bit different, because when they I don't know if you've been to a live boxing match, but like when they hit the mat in that ring and everything, the whole stadium kind of shakes. But this is one of the stars of boxing. He's taking on Frank Martin. There's some history between these guys, all right? So there was a kind of an infamous sparring session where Frank Martin, kind of brags about he got the best of Tank Davis in there. And with Frank Martin, he's 18-12. I mean, he's 18-0, excuse me, with 12 knockouts, known as the Ghost. These are both southpaws. I think technically, I think this is, I think they're very, very good technical fighters in there. I just think that, we're witnessing something special every time Tank Davis gets into the ring. And he has the bit of a Floyd Mayweather quality in that his outside life and work can seem so chaotic and stuff like that. But when he steps inside of that squared circle, that guy is all business. He's a true professional. He's somebody that one of the things he talked about in his comparison to Frank Martin is that, I started fighting when I was 7 years old. You started at 15 to 16 years old. There's certain just kind of muscle memories and instinctive things that he does in the ring that you can only get from starting at that young age. But let's start with Coach Dave, because this is his man, 100 grand. Javante Tank Davis. He's been on the bandwagon for a while. So give us your thoughts on this fight and your pundit pick.
Well, man, look. I think this is going to be a great fight, man. I'm just hoping Tank hasn't got to Frank Martin's head, so that Frank Martin will fight. I think it's going to be interesting too, because both of them have southpaws, man. And the majority of their fighters are probably orthodox fighters. So this is going to be interesting. I think Tank wins the fight. I think Tank wins the fight in the later rounds. I think more so, and definitely I think by stoppage. I'll give the round. I'll say ninth round on this one. But I think I think Frank builds up, man. I think Frank builds up. Just out of the slick movement and box. This dude's jab, dude. I think he builds up a lead, but I think he underestimates Frank Tank's power and boxing acumen at the pro level without headgear. It's a whole different thing from a sparring session. I think he gets touched and remembers Tank's power and then goes into a shell. I think he gets touched later on in the rounds and goes into a shell. So I'm literally saying that as slick as this guy is, that I think Tank touches this kid, and that it throws something off, and Tank gets to the guy. There'll be a little bit of trouble from him, from Martin, but I think Tank get to him and stops him. Nice round for me, man.
All right. So with that said, Boston Jared, do you think that there is any kind of confidence or anything that Frank Martin can take from this sparring session, or do you think that we're not fighting with headgear, you're going from 16-ounce gloves to 8-ounce gloves, and then sparring is sparring, right? So it just, you can catch fighters at different points within their training. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think absolutely there's some confidence that Frank Martin can kind of pull from that sparring session if it went his way, allegedly, according to him, whatever. Then yeah, I think there might be a little bit of confidence. But yeah, I think Frank Martin has been in enough, boxed enough, and his trainer Derek James, they know enough to know that sparring session, whenever it took place, is not going to. Fight's not going to play out that way, right? Like Coach Dave said, headgear in 16s is totally different than no headgear with 8s, especially with them big bright lights. In Vegas, it's Frank Martin's first time on that stage, right? And that's going to factor into this. That's going to factor into this as well. I don't think that this fight is going to be very exciting. I think this fight is going to be pretty boring. I think that like Coach Dave said, I think that Frank maybe establishes that jab in the early rounds. I think that you'll see a counter left hand cause Frank Martin to put that jab away, and the fight is going to devolve into feinting and a feinting and staring contest through the middle rounds. And I see Tank maybe catching Frank Martin. Once the boos begin to mount, you maybe see Frank Martin begin to open up a little bit, or one of these guys begin to open up a little bit. And I could see Javante catching Frank in the 9th or 10th round and stopping him. Maybe this fight goes to 12. I don't know. Tank hasn't gone 12 since not Giovanni Cabrera, Pitbull Cruz, right? Was the last time he went the distance. And Tank was injured in that fight, right?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go.
He hurt his his right hand, I believe, in that fight. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So look, yeah, I'm gonna go with Gervonta in 10 in a pretty actionless fight.
Wow. So I think that be I think it'll be a good fight. I think that there is some blood there. I think that Tank Davis is somebody that is used to the bright lights. He rises to the occasion. I think that he's gonna do a bit of a number on Frank Martin, actually. So I got him with a 7th-round stoppage. I think that he's gonna catch. I'm trying to think of the blow with like southpaw against southpaw. For some reason, I see something coming up from up under, maybe like a left or like a right uppercut and stuff.
Yeah.
But I see Tank Davis doing his thing, and then making a bit of a statement to make sure that he is firmly planted within the top 5 of the pound for pound. It's hard for him to kind of move up, but by stopping somebody like Frank Martin, even though he is undefeated. But when you have people like Usyk, being undisputed at his weight division, and then in a way doing his thing, being undisputed. But I think he's gonna firmly plant himself within the top 5, the boxing, and then he's gonna make sure that he continues to be a draw within the sport.
But my thing is this: you've got to know going into this fight that Gervonta Tank Davis wants to counterpunch, right? That's that's Gervonta's bread and butter. It's not that he can't fight off of his front foot, but he prefers to counter. When you've got to, Derek James has got to know that, right? Wouldn't you? I see Frank Martin getting on his back foot and putting the onus on Gervonta Tank Davis to press the action and trying to counter Tank. Let Tank initiate and then Frank counter. Similar to the way Porter did with Crawford. Crawford wants to counter. Porter knows that. Porter gets on his back foot, causes Crawford to initiate, and you counter with volume. Whether it's effective or not necessarily a concern at first, as long as you're seen as being the busier guy, maybe having more effective aggression. I don't know. It's tough for me to see Frank Martin doing what guys like Rolly and Pitbull Cruz. I see his approach probably more the way we saw Hector Luis Garcia approach this fight. A very, very slow, tactical kind of chess match in the center of the ring with not a lot of punches thrown. Man, Tank is going to really have to work hard to stay focused, and when that opportunity presents itself, land that big shot, man.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, because I was gonna say, you brought up the comparison between Crawford and Porter. Porter got stopped in that fight, even though it was pretty late, but Porter got stopped. And I think for some reason, I think that the moment is gonna get to Frank Martin just a little bit. I think the moment's gonna get to him just a little bit. Take this is kind of a walk in the park for him, but I think with Frank Martin, I think the moment's gonna get to him a little bit. Coach Dave, anything that you want to end this segment on?
Yeah, man, I don't think it's gonna be as boring as Jared says it is. I can see it having that potential, man, by far, but I just I don't know, man, about the blood that's in the air with this fight, man. And if Frank is on his back foot and trying to draw Gervonta in, I think we got to remember that this guy is just not an artist, man. This cat can box, and he can dart in and out with that jab and them feints, and even throwing that jab to the sternum low. This guy can box. It might be subtle aggression, but Gervonta Davis can be going forward, man. It's just it might be that subtle, sneaky, cautious aggressiveness. And I just don't don't think it's gonna be as boring, man, as you think, Jed. It can have some love in it, but I think Tank's coming at this guy, man. I think, and if the guy Tank will be coming at this guy, literally getting him in the corner, backing him up, and then the hands is rolling.
So, because the fights leading up to this, I can almost guarantee you are going to have a lot of action. And Gvozdyk, Benavidez is going to have a lot of action. Gary Antoine Russell Puello is going to have a lot of action. So the crowd is going to be, those fights before Tank, the undercard fights are really, really going to set the pace. And I wonder if that affects Tank's approach to this. This could be interesting. This could be interesting to see, especially if the other fights are very, very action-packed. The pressure is gonna, Tank is gonna have to feel like he's gonna have to, he's the main event, right? Want to close the show. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. So we're gonna wrap with this segment and get into our last segment. You know, we had to bring you this this last one, but we will be right with you with the last segment.